transparency in peer review is usually seen as who's funded the study, concerns about ghostwriters, reviewer anonymity, undisclosed conflicts of interests, and open access, which I'm sure you'll hear some more about from the following speakers. But we think the next big question is clarity about methods. The arrival of big data modelling underlines this issue. The wider public have to know what questions to ask to distinguish a good analysis from a bad one. Big data and the processes to analyse it are increasingly part of scientific output and are used in policy decisions. There have been some significant initiatives to promote data transparency. For instance, the Transparency and Openness Promotion Guidelines from the Centre for Open Science, which Elsevier has signed up to. This is a set of standards for researchers to make data, research materials, and analytic code open. This is vital for making it possible for researchers to scrutinise and, most importantly, reproduce research that's used big data. The public discussion about research quality, validity, and trustworthiness must keep pace. So what do people, decision makers, the public, journalists, need to know to hold the output of big data analytics to account? In other words, how do we make the black box of data, big or otherwise, open to scrutiny by the public? Can researchers help them cut through the noise? In public life, the main noticeable outgrowth from big data has been the use of algorithms, used to make sense of vast amounts of data. Algorithms are everywhere and are not in themselves bad. But many people don't realise that they run cash machines, place mobile phone calls, and are generally involved in many aspects of modern life, from banking to marketing and insurance. But what about when algorithms are used in decision-making? There are ways in which people can hold decisions made or influenced by algorithms to account, but it takes new thinking from companies or organisations and a whole new set of questions and concepts for the public to grasp. And we know that systems and ideas powered by algorithms can fail. The Google Trends project, which claimed to anticipate seasonal flu outbreaks by tracking user searches for flu-related terms, it proved to be less reliable predictor of outbreaks than a simple model of local temperatures. One problem was that Google's algorithm was put off by meaningless correlations, for example, between flu outbreaks and the high school baseball season, for example, both of which occurred in winter. Like all database claims, if an algorithm's abilities sound too good to be true, they probably are. Of course, manual decision procedures would have existed prior to the involvement of a computer. What's different about computer algorithms is the sheer scale and complexity, and in many cases, their lack of transparency. Algorithms are used to inform, sometimes automate entirely, a huge range of decisions which really impact people's lives. In the education system, algorithms have been used to rate teaching performance and sack underperforming teachers. That's what happened in the Washington School District in the US. Teachers were ranked largely on the basis of test scores from one year to another, and at the end of the 2009-10 school year, those at the bottom 2% were fired. A further 5%, 206 allegedly bad teachers, lost their jobs in the following school year. But what if they weren't bad teachers? What if the formula didn't get it right? How did the decision get made anyway? It's essential to government, to parliament, to citizens, that we know decisions about our lives, about how they're being made. We're proud to say that in March 2017, the UK Science and Technology Committee agreed with Sense About Science that it should investigate to improve transparency and accountability when algorithms are used. So our next big challenge is to equip citizens and journalists to ask the right questions, to read and scrutinize patterns in data. By developing public materials on how to read data, it will help people understand the opportunities, the benefits, and the risks of big data and pattern spotting, and how responsible organizations address them. We want to succeed in helping the public to understand the opportunities provided by big data, the potential benefits and risks, and how responsible, transparent organizations mitigate those risks. Contact me if you can help with this. The public need to grasp the issue of quality and standards related to data for evidence and data to be truly transparent and accountable. So to sum up, make sure peer review isn't your best kept secret. Check, does the press release for your research paper state whether it's peer-reviewed research? Trust the public by clearly explaining your research findings in human language, and share the right questions for the public to weigh up data. So that's all from me for now, and I'll hand over to Dr. Riaz Agha.
Thank you, Emily. So that sets me up nicely for my talk here. Let me just get the slides up. Okay, so I'm going to be giving a journal's perspective, having been an editor for almost 15 years. I'm going to be discussing about two journals that we've been involved in terms of introducing the publishing of peer review reports. Just to give you a bit of an overview, I manage and run 7 journals, 5 with Elsevier, 2 with Wolters Kluwer, and also 3 websites shown there, which are also involved around healthcare and healthcare information. We have had 13,000 papers submitted over the period that we launched in 2003, with 5,500 papers published. 70 to 75% is original research, and we've had 10 million downloads. So, and also to give you a sort of estimate of the run rate of things, we now receive over 3,000 submissions a year and publish about half of that. So we do a lot of peer review and handle a lot of manuscripts. So this introducing a pilot for our journals was quite a big step for us. When we did this, I wrote a editorial in the journal to our readers and reviewers to highlight this development. And one of the things I discussed in there, when approached about participating in this pilot with Elsevier, was how greater transparency can actually lead to greater accountability and can actually lead to better outcomes. And in the editorial, I talked about an example of this with the cardiac surgeons who had their data published first in 2005 by the Guardian newspaper, and then subsequently in a more controlled fashion with the Society of Cardiothoracic Surgeons and the Healthcare Commission in 2006. And there was great fear about this at the time, but subsequent studies have shown that when looking at over almost 26,000 patients, publishing outcomes has actually led to better outcomes. So greater transparency has led to improvement in the things you're actually trying to measure. So we felt that this could be a useful thing for us to participate in. We've highlighted and discussed a number of other developments over transparency, including the Freedom of Information Act and so on in this editorial. And I'd certainly encourage people to read it if they're interested in these issues. So just to go over some of the developments that we've made, if I highlight the Annals of Medicine and Surgery, first of all, and then I'll speak about the International Journal of Surgery. So we introduced this as soon as the pilot started in late 2014. And here you can see downloads of the actual full text requests and downloads of the actual peer review reports themselves. And this is quite interesting in that it's telling us what is the interest in actually reading these peer review reports that we're publishing now. So in blue, you can see the graph for 2016. In January, we had 801 downloads. And then again, you can see how that progresses over the whole of 2016. And then the following year, in 2017, you can see how that's increased. So actually, interest in peer review reports is increasing. And this represents total full text requests. So it does indicate that as there is a growing archive of peer review reports, there is going to be growing usage. If you look at this next graph, this tells us how usage overall is on the Health Advanced platform as opposed to the Science Direct platform, which was the previous graph. And this shows on this other Elsevier platform, you also have a significant amount of access. And this is the sort of journal's own homepage. So you get a significant amount of access here as well. Less than Science Direct, but still significant, and that's interesting. On this next slide, I've highlighted the articles that are being downloaded most frequently. These are the top 10 articles in the review supplement from 2015, just as an example. And this shows that there is a wide spread of articles that are being downloaded. It's not any one particular kind of area or specialty. It is quite broad in the types of things being covered in those articles, and that's what I wanted to highlight here. If you then examine in the supplement of 2016, again, different kinds of articles, still wide variety of usage, wide range of articles being used. In the next slide, I've now shown you feedback that we looked at in 2015. We asked authors, how did you like publication of peer review reports next to your article, with 38 responses in this sample. And you can see that 61% of people liked it or liked it very much, and only 13% disliked it or didn't like it at all. So I think that was useful feedback, which encouraged us to continue. And then on this next slide, I've actually shown how does actually doing this influence people's decision to publish with us in the Annals of Medicine and Surgery. And you can see that 35% it made it more likely that they would publish with us, whereas only 12% made it less likely, and 53% were neutral. So 3 times as many people were more likely to publish than less. So that was also positive. We just now move on to the International Journal of Surgery and discuss similar sorts of numbers for this, but bigger numbers. We now have in 2016, you can see in January there was 3,568 full text requests on Science Direct for the supplements of peer review that have been published at that time. And you can see how this changes over the course of 2016, and then it goes up to another level again in 2017. So again, significant increases in interest and usage. If we look at the Health Advanced numbers on this next slide, and the sort of journal's own website, as opposed to the more institutional platform, which is Science Direct. Again, you can see rising usage here as well. Again, if we look at the types of articles, there's a variety of types of articles being where there is interest. And if you remember from a couple of slides ago, I showed the numbers in the region of 4,000 downloads, 4,000 to 5,000 downloads occurring a month. The fact that the most highly downloaded articles on Science Direct, the top one was 175 in terms of the peer review report. That shows that there is indeed a very long tail of interest in peer review reports is not just as if one article is providing 2,000 downloads and then the next one 500 and so on. There is a wide range of interest across a range of different peer review reports. And this is also exemplified in this next slide here. Again, a wide variety of articles, specialties, types of research, review articles, etc. Again, if we look at feedback, how does publishing peer review reports influence people's decision to publish? Again, you can see 37% made it more likely, 10% less likely. So again, it's that sort of 3 to 4 times as many people were made more likely to publish than less, with 53% being neutral. And if you also look at how did you like the publication of the peer review reports, 57% liked it or liked it very much, and only 7% disliked it or didn't like it at all. So the feedback from authors is very positive in the work that was back then, and we have no reason to believe that's changed at the moment. So just to conclude my part of this presentation, we think this is a useful pilot experience that we've incorporated long term, and we'll be interested in bringing more journals into it. 60% of authors either liked it or liked it a lot, and 35% are more likely to publish than less. So very positive feedback from the authors and reviewers who've encountered this. We think that transparency, openness, accountability, and governance is very important, and this is an important part of that.